HOA tried to take my land for a road. Federal court rejected them after I cited war-era ownership. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to stand your ground when someone tries to take what's rightfully yours? Clara Thompson, a retired schoolteacher in rural Virginia, never imagined she'd be fighting a homeowners association, HOA, over her family's century-old farmland. But when the HOA demanded a chunk of her property for a new road, claiming it was for the community's benefit, Clara's quiet life turned into a battle of wills. They thought they could bully her into submission, but they didn't count on her uncovering a legal ace up her sleeve, a war-era deed that would send their plans crashing down. The trouble started in the spring of 2023, when Clara received a certified letter from the newly formed Pine Hills HOA representing a sprawling subdivision that had sprung up next to her 20-acre property. The letter was polite but firm. The HOA needed a 50-foot strip of her land to build an access road connecting their gated community to the state highway. They offered her $10,000, calling it a fair deal for the greater good. Clara, a widow in her late 60s, wasn't interested. Her land, passed down through 4 generations, held memories of her childhood, her parents' struggles, and her late husband's dreams of restoring the old barn. She politely declined, assuming that would be the end of it. It wasn't. The HOA didn't take no for an answer. They sent more letters, each one more insistent. They claimed the road was essential for emergency services, and that her refusal was selfish. Then came the unannounced visits. HOA board members, led by Karen Whitaker, a real estate agent with a penchant for power, showed up at Clara's doorstep, demanding to survey her land. "You're holding back progress," Karen snapped during one heated exchange, her manicured nails pointing at Clara's weathered fence. "This isn't just your land, Anna Marie, it's part of our vision." Clara, standing firm on her porch, told them to leave. But the pressure escalated. The HOA filed a claim of eminent domain, arguing that the road was a public necessity, and they even sent a lawyer to intimidate her with threats of legal fees she couldn't afford. Here's where things took an unexpected turn. Clara wasn't alone in her fight. Her neighbor, Tom Grayson, a retired veteran who'd lived on the adjacent property for decades, overheard Karen bragging at a local diner about how they'd steamroll that old lady. Tom, who'd always kept to himself, decided to step in. He introduced Clara to his nephew, Ethan, a young attorney fresh out of law school but eager to take on a challenge. Ethan dug into the case and discovered something startling. The HOA's claim hinged on a modern survey that ignored a 1942 deed tied to Clara's property. During World War II, her grandfather had granted a temporary easement to the federal government for a supply route, but the deed explicitly stated that the land reverted to the family after the war. The HOA's survey conveniently omitted this, assuming no one would notice. Armed with this revelation, Clara and Ethan prepared for a showdown. The HOA, confident in their deep pockets and high-priced lawyers, pushed the case to federal court, believing Clara would fold under the pressure. Karen Whitaker took the stand, painting Clara as a stubborn recluse who cared more about her useless land than the safety of families in Pine Hills. She waved glossy renderings of the proposed road, claiming it would transform the community. But Ethan was ready. He presented the 1942 deed, backed by historical records from the National Archives, proving Clara's absolute ownership. He also exposed the HOA's shoddy survey, which had been rushed by a contractor with ties to Karen's real estate firm. The courtroom buzzed as the judge leaned forward, clearly intrigued. The HOA's lawyers scrambled, arguing that the war-era deed was irrelevant in modern times. But Ethan didn't stop there. He called Tom Grayson to testify, and the old veteran delivered a gut punch. Tom recounted how Karen had approached him months earlier, offering to buy his land at a fraction of its value, hinting that things could get ugly if he refused. The judge's face hardened. It was clear the HOA wasn't just after a road, they were scheming to gobble up prime land for future development, using the road as a pretext. The courtroom drama peaked when Ethan revealed an email from Karen to the developer, boasting that Clara's land would be easy pickings once they wore her down. Karen's composure cracked. She stammered on the stand, her polished facade crumbling as Ethan pressed her on the email. The HOA's case unraveled faster than a cheap sweater. The judge, citing the incontrovertible evidence of Clara's ownership and the HOA's bad faith, ruled in her favor. Not only did the court reject the HOA's claim, but it also ordered them to cover Clara's legal fees, a stinging rebuke. As the gavel fell, Clara sat quietly, tears in her eyes, clutching the fated deed that had saved her legacy. Karen stormed out, her heels clicking furiously, while the HOA board members exchanged panicked glances. The aftermath was swift and brutal for Pine Hills. HOA news of the ruling spread like wildfire, and residents, already frustrated with rising dues and Karen's iron-fisted rule, demanded accountability. An emergency meeting was called, and Karen was ousted as president, her real estate business taking a hit as clients distanced themselves. The developer, embarrassed by the exposure of their shady tactics, pulled funding for the road project, leaving the HOA scrambling to repair their reputation. Clara, meanwhile, became a local hero. Neighbors who'd once ignored her now stopped by with homemade pies and offers to help fix her barn. Tom, ever the gruff veteran, even brought over his old tractor to mow her fields, grumbling that it was just to keep things tidy. Clara's victory wasn't just about keeping her land, it was a reminder that standing up to bullies, no matter how powerful they seem, can inspire others to do the same. She framed the 1942 deed and hung it above her fireplace, a testament to her family's resilience. Ethan, now a rising star in the legal world, took on more cases against overreaching HOAs, vowing to protect others like his aunt. As for Clara, she's back to her quiet life, tending her garden and watching the sunset over her fields, knowing they're hers for good. What do you think? Did Clara do the right thing by fighting back? Or should she have compromised for the greater good? Share your thoughts on where the line should be drawn between personal rights and community needs.